Hello and welcome back to Girl Ascending. So today I thought it would be fun to do a pick a card reading, as we've not done one of these before on the channel, and this is going to be all about our relationship attachment style, so how we look for love, how we behave in relationships, and how that is informing on the romantic side of our life. So we've got 4 different cards to choose from. We've got this one, number 1, 2, 3 and 4, so make your choice. They'll all be time-stamped in the comments below to make it easier to find, and let's get started. Okay, hello, pile number 1. So let's see what cards we have coming up today. So we have got the 7 of Wands, the King of Swords, and then we've got our Oracle cards. So we've got the star sign of Taurus, and then we have got the goddess Persephone. Okay. So, when we are looking at these cards in terms of our relationship attachment style, and we have the 7 of Wands coming up as the first card, the initial thing I would say is that there is definitely some conflict going on in your romantic life at the moment. So this could even be a conflict about dating. So perhaps you're thinking that there's some degree of pressure to get out in the world, start dating again, and it may be something that you don't want to do. You're feeling that resistance to it. Or you could feel that there is a sensation of resistance when it comes to finding your person. Perhaps you've been dating for a while and things haven't really been progressing, and there's a sense of frustration creeping in, but you're not willing to give up on finding that person. You are persevering in the dating scene, but you've definitely come across some moments where you felt like, oh dear, this is not really what I am looking for. And even in a relationship, there may be a period of conflict at the moment. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you are in the wrong relationship or in a toxic relationship, but it's just something good to be aware of, that when you have these periods of conflict, if they happen a lot, if they are over things that are fundamentally important to you, how does that change your view of the relationship and your role within the relationship as well? Because it is normal, of course, to argue, to disagree, to fight in a relationship, but it is not normal to feel like you are trapped in a relationship or in a period of conflict when you are always trying to sort of climb that hill. And when I look at the 7 of Wands, I always feel that sensation of a resistance, of a pushback, and I think it is important to acknowledge that sensation in your own body, because that will then help you to see where you are being guided next. And we also have the King of Swords coming up. And to me, this means that you are looking for someone who is very alpha. And we often associate alpha with being an alpha male, but looking for someone who is in an alpha category in life doesn't necessarily have to assign to any particular gender or binary. It's more about that sensation of the kind of personality trait that you are looking for. So you're looking for someone who's got it together, who knows what they want, who is very intellectually stimulating, as well as probably a bit of a hottie as well, as we can tell from the card from this Hollywood deck. We've got this Errol Flynn kind of character coming in. But the thing that I would say to be aware of is having these 2 cards come up so close together, with the King of Swords and the 7 of Wands, that perhaps a lot of the resistance that you're feeling at the moment is choosing the wrong person. And the Oracle card that we have coming through, the Zodiac Oracle card that we're using, and we pulled Taurus for this particular pile. So that Taurus energy is such a gorgeous energy to have in relationships because it's so nurturing. But then when we think of our goddess card that we've got coming through, which is Persephone, the myth, is all about the seasons, so taking that time away during autumn and winter when Persephone went into the underworld, to then come back for spring and summer to be with her mother Demeter in the world again. So overall, we have this idea of being very loyal, very caring, very loving, but at the same time, we need our own space. We need to take that time away in order to figure out who we are and what we want as well. However, when we have Persephone as our oracle card, coming up with these other two cards as well, the Seven of Wands and the King of Swords. What that also may indicate to me is that perhaps you are in a relationship where there is some kind of familial struggle as well. So it could either be family pressures. They're saying that, you know, we found this perfect person. We think that they would be great for you, but we're not sure, you know, why you're resisting that person. And it could be because you actually don't want to date this type of person or this particular person, and that is causing you to want to withdraw away from family. But it could also be that your relationship attachment style is actually that you need that time to be on your own. And having Taurus and Persephone come up together, it's that idea that you are very in contact with yourself, with your body, with how you feel in yourself, and you need to take that time away to love yourself, really, to spoil yourself, to really honor your body, your being. And you need to not always be in a relationship where someone wants to be around you all the time. And that may also feed into why you are so attracted to an alpha kind of partner, because in general, an alpha partner may also feel that same kind of sensation where they want to go off and do their own thing sometime as well, and they don't necessarily want to always have a partner that is, you know, following around after them. So when we are looking at this particular pile of cards, we want to keep in mind that if we're going through a relationship conflict at the moment, that is the universe trying to tell us something, whether we're single or in a relationship, that if there is that feeling of resistance, of conflict, that we want to dive in a little bit further, maybe journal on it, maybe meditate on it, or just go for a walk, detach ourselves for a bit and think, where is this resistance coming in? Why is it coming in? And what is it trying to tell me? Maybe it's time to take a little break from dating for a while. Obviously, we have Persephone as our goddess card coming in here, which would definitely indicate that could be a good thing to do. Or perhaps you need just a break from your current relationship. And then when we're looking at also the King of Swords, we want to keep in mind the kind of person that we're going for. Obviously, there is nothing wrong with wanting to go for, you know, that A-list partner that we, you know, have our eye on. Everyone is attracted to different people, but just to keep in mind that if you're really going for that alpha partner, that they may also come along with a lot of their own thoughts, their own opinions, their own needs that you may find some resistance with, especially in the beginning, but that this could definitely make a very loving and harmonious relationship. And you as a partner are very loving, are very loyal, you are very in touch with your own body. So you know exactly how to love and give back to someone else, which is always an absolutely beautiful thing, of course, in a relationship. But that you also need to remember to honor yourself as well, that you need to take time for yourself, that you can't always be what someone else wants you to be, because you need to have a full cup in order to pour back to someone else. So I hope you enjoyed this little mini relationship reading, and let's move on to our next set of cards. Hello to all of you who chose pile number 2. So let's see what cards we have today. So we have got the Three of Swords. We have, the High Priestess. And then if we check out our oracle cards, our zodiac sign is Pisces. Okay. And then our goddess oracle card is Hecate. Okay, cool. So when we're looking at these cards, the first thing that jumps out to me is that when it comes to relationships, that you are feeling those emotions very, very strongly and very deeply. And starting off with the Three of Swords, obviously this is known universally as the Heartbreak card. And we can see on our Golden Girls tarot deck that B. Arthur has got the heart with the 3 swords in on her jumper, and she's not looking too pleased. Maybe Stan has come around again. If you watch Golden Girls, you'll get that. Anyway, when we're looking at this spread, what is really jumping out to me is this idea that we are deeply emotional when it comes to relationships, and that may have been informed by a bad breakup. And this could have been something that happened when we were much, much younger, but it has affected us very deeply, and we have kind of carried that energy and that fear of rejection with us through into our next relationships. And this can be something that happens quite a lot, really, that when we are younger and immature in relationships, that we can end up hurting either ourselves or someone else. And then as we get older and grow up, we feel that we've maybe grown out of those kind of relationships. But actually, those first heartbreaks really cut very deeply, and they really inform on our relationship style as we get older and we meet different partners and go into new areas of our lives. So that is really important to keep in mind, really, that any heartbreak that we have, we need to engage with it and process it properly. Otherwise, it is just going to be something that we internalize and end up carrying around with us, and even possibly projecting onto a new partner, onto the next partner, which is definitely something that we don't want to be doing. And when we see the High Priestess coming up, we understand that we've got to really dig deeper into our own personal intuition and into that side of our being. Because the High Priestess, she is like the ultimate female energy of intuition in tarot. She is really saying to us, behind her is all knowledge. She is in between these two pillars that we can't sort of see at the moment. The other cards are covering them. But she is really trying to say, look, everything that you want to access about yourself, you have the power to do it. So don't let someone else take away your power. And that can be really common in relationships as well. When we love someone, we may start to abandon ourselves, our own needs, in order to give that person what we think they need in order for them to stay in the relationship with us, or in order to keep a relationship together. And when we have the energy of Pisces coming in with the Zodiac card, that really is something as well that is very common. And with Hecate as our goddess oracle card, we want to remember that our power, our own inner intuition, is really important when it comes to relationships. Because even if we want to feel sort of, that dreamy, loving feeling, like having a crush, which is obviously lovely, we want to remember that we can't just ignore the past relationships that we have been in, and we really need to dig deeper into our intuition to make sure that we are choosing partners who are fully aligned with not just what we want now, but also what we want in the future. Because often a lot of heartbreak comes from relationship expectations, and it's really common, especially when we see the Pisces Zodiac oracle card coming up. It's really common for us to not necessarily fall for someone, but fall for someone's potential. And that is quite dangerous in a relationship, really, because if you are only looking for someone's potential, you're not actually acknowledging who they are now, because, none of us know what's going to happen in the future. And also, it's not really very healthy to be in a relationship with someone, but also sort of secretly hoping that at some point they may change in some way, or that they may start progressing in some way. So perhaps they don't have very much money at the moment, but they're studying, so we're hoping that maybe at some point they'll make more money. I mean, that's obviously quite a materialistic example, but I think a lot of us definitely do that, and sometimes unconsciously as well. And I think this spread is really telling us that we need to be more conscious in the decisions that we are making. We don't want to keep getting into a cycle of heartbreak, of breaking our own heart, because we're going for that same type of partner over and over again and making those same relationship choices, and things aren't really progressing. That we need to take a moment to dig deeper into ourselves, to get more in touch with our intuition, and realize that actually we hold the key to finding that perfect partner, because we've already found them. They are within ourselves. So when we're dreaming and thinking about love and wanting to meet that special person, we also want to remember that we have a lot more control around that than we think. We hold that key. And Hecate, of course, is associated with keys as well, with pathways, with crossroads. So it could be that perhaps at the moment you're also feeling that you are at a bit of a crossroad, either in a relationship or in how you're approaching relationships. So these cards are really calling you to go and unpick previous relationship trauma, to really kind of see where things maybe went wrong, but on both sides. So acknowledge if perhaps you were the toxic person in that relationship as well, and then really dig deeper into your own intuition to kind of feel what it is that you really want. And sometimes that can be a bit challenging as well. It's also something good to journal on, because with relationships, I think often we think of very surface things that we want. We want someone kind, someone loyal, someone hardworking. But actually, sometimes in relationships, we kind of want different things. Do you want someone who has a little bit of arrogance around them? Do you want someone who wants to take care of you? Be honest with yourself, because you cannot connect with that right partner if you are still kind of denying parts of yourself in terms of what you are actually looking for. So embrace that maybe darker side of you that wants maybe traits in a partner that you wouldn't necessarily want to vocalize on a dating app or even to other people, but just acknowledge them, know that they are there, know exactly what it is that you are looking for, and don't get too lost in that idea of being really into someone in that kind of high school crush kind of way, because that is a surefire way to lead us astray when looking for love. But remember that you can get creative as well. We don't need to just look for love on dating apps. We can also go out, start a new hobby, or even just start chatting to people in the real world. Sometimes obviously it can feel a bit weird, but if you are going to the same kind of places all the time, maybe the gym, a very stereotypical place, or going to a cafe, or even just through other friends or family members, if there's someone that you like, don't be afraid to go up and talk to them, because we are all human beings having our own human experience, and sometimes it can be great to just find new and creative ways to connect with one another. So that is our spread for those of you who chose the number 2 pile. I hope you enjoyed this relationship reading, and let's move on to our next pile. Hello, those of you who chose pile number 3 with this beautiful little shell. I love all these little indentations, just gorgeous little mini conch. Okay, let's find out what cards we've got today. So we have got the King of Wands in the reverse. We have got the Magician, and then let's see what oracle cards we've got. So our Zodiac oracle card is Aries, and then our goddess card is Circe. Oh wow, okay. So when I look at these cards, when we're thinking about relationships, the first thing I think of is that perhaps there is a little bit of an imbalance of power going on at the moment. And that could be in a pre-existing relationship that you may be in at the moment. It may be in how you feel about yourself when you are dating, and it may be a reason that is actually contributing to why you are single. So it may be that perhaps you have experienced a controlling relationship before, and you're really looking to connect back to your own personal power again. And I think that that is something that is really common, to have an imbalance of power in a relationship, and it takes a great degree of self-awareness in order to make sure that we are actually not putting ourselves in a position where actually we are doing more for someone else than they are actually able to do for us. And obviously a relationship is a balancing act, it's not tit for tat, and also things will not always be in balance. Sometimes one partner will have to take on more and the other partner will be supporting them, and then it will flip round again, and that is perfectly normal and healthy. But when we're actually looking at this particular pile of cards, what really stands out to me is that idea that actually we are not being supported in that particular context. So what I would say is, if you are in a controlling relationship at the moment, or if you have been in one in the past, or if you have a fear of that level of control, of being trapped in a relationship, remember that you always have the power to transmute that and to create what you want from that relationship to be healthy for yourself. And it doesn't mean using someone else, it just means having that self-awareness, so that when you are in the relationship, that the relationship is also giving you what you need from it as well. And the Magician card always reminds us, to really stand in our own power, and that we have that power to create. And when we look at the card, we can see that on his table there are the sigils for all the other suits as well. So it's that idea that the Magician acknowledges that we hold the power for everything that we need inside of ourselves, our own skills, that we on a practical level can create the life, the love that we want, because we are bringing it first and foremost from ourselves, and we don't need to allow someone else to imprint on us. And then when we're looking at the Oracle Zodiac card that was pulled, which is Aries, obviously that's the idea again of something very fiery, very lustful, but also kind of that element of combat as well. But that may be something that you actually enjoy in your relationship style. I think some of us, myself included, sometimes enjoy having that kind of sexual tension, a little frisson, not arguing on a larger level, but that fun kind of level of bickering where you tease each other, and where being argumentative or butting heads is actually a fun and enjoyable part of how you express your closeness and your love for one another. And it's important to acknowledge as well that, not everyone is looking for the same type of relationship, and actually it's perfectly normal to want a relationship where there is that degree of spiciness, of keeping things on their toes, that you don't want a relationship where everything is just going to be even and steady all the time. And when we look at the goddess card that we've got coming through, which is Circe, Circe was a witch in the Odyssey. She turned Odysseus's men into pigs when they were trying to leave her island. So there's that idea of control coming in as well, but also that idea that we can actually be the ones in control. In a relationship, sometimes it can actually be that female energy that is stepping up to be in control. And female energy is accessible to all of us, no matter how you identify gender-wise, but it's that idea of that witch energy in its most positive, broad sense, that we are able to look at a situation and transform it using the skills that we have by loving someone else, that we are able to bring the best out of them, to create the best possible situation for ourselves, for that love to thrive in. But we have to be a bit wary of maybe some controlling elements coming in. So that could either be getting stuck in a relationship where someone else is trying to control us, or it could also be a situation where perhaps we are trying to control someone else as well. And being in a controlling relationship doesn't necessarily come from a fully negative place. Sometimes we could be trying to control that relationship because we don't want to lose the other person. We're afraid of being on our own, or perhaps we feel that if we do lose that person, we're not going to ever meet someone else, which I think is sometimes a big trigger point when it comes to ending relationships for some people. So if you are single, what I would say is remember that you have the power to find the exact relationship that you are looking for. You want something a bit fiery, a bit spicy. You want a partner who is really going to challenge you, who's going to have big ideas, who is creative, who is really going to bring something to the table, and you are not afraid to go head to head with that person in all aspects of your relationship. But that we also want to take a step back and make sure that we are not putting ourselves in a situation where someone can have a power over us that we don't want them to have, that we are not in a situation where we are trying to exert our power over someone else either, because when that kind of creative energy goes a bit awry or goes a bit wrong, it can end up in a relationship that just goes round and round in circles, that perhaps you find yourself wanting to leave it, but then that sort of fieriness, that chemistry keeps pulling you back in, and you feel that you're never sort of able to extricate yourself from the situation, which can of course be very toxic. But we want to remember that we have that power to decide how we show up in that relationship, both for ourselves and for someone else as well. And that we know that we are able to bring to the table enough on our own. We don't necessarily need someone else. And that we can, we need to trust in ourselves that we are bringing enough to the table. We don't need to feel intimidated by someone else in a relationship or a dating situation. So that is our little read for pile number 3. I hope you enjoyed it, and let's move on to our final pile. Okay, and now we come to our final pile. So this is pile number 4, our beautiful pearlescent shell. Okay, so let's see what cards we have coming up. We have the 6 of Wands. We have the Moon. And let's see what oracle cards we have. So we have Leo as our zodiac sign. And then we have Nyx as our goddess. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing I would say is that at the moment you are feeling in a very positive place when it comes to relationships. Now, that doesn't mean that you are actually in a relationship, but it could mean that you are feeling very positive about the fact of where you stand in your romantic life at the moment. However, we still have some issues to address from the past, which are perhaps creeping in and maybe making things a bit more tricky when it comes to finding that perfect partner. But when we think about the Six of Wands, we really think about that sense of victory and of achievement, which may seem a bit weird when we apply that to relationships. But what it can mean on a more broader sense is that sensation of, we've maybe been through some ups and downs in love and relationships, and we finally found someone where we feel completely supported, loved and seen, which is a wonderful place to be in. So if you are in a relationship at the moment, the cards are definitely indicating that this person is going to be with you for the long haul, and that it is a relationship that, even if it doesn't last forever, is definitely going to leave behind something positive, and that it is going to have served a really important purpose in your life's journey. However, because we have pulled the moon as well, we need to acknowledge that there is some shadow work to do with relationships that perhaps we have been avoiding and which are perhaps preventing us from getting us to that next step. And when we have that aligned with the Six of Wands as well, there is also kind of what I would call that Love Island energy. And what I mean by that is sometimes you see people on social media talking about their relationships, taking photos, making something appear a certain way when actually there is perhaps a bit more trouble in paradise, and the relationship isn't actually going as positively as perhaps these particular people or persons may want you to think. Now, it could be you that is in that relationship that is feeling that you have to project a certain image that, yes, our relationship is fine. Perhaps you are married or have a deeper level of connection and commitment, and you feel that you physically can't leave that relationship, and the only thing you can do is to give the appearance that that relationship is fine. Or it could be that you are in a relationship that perhaps other people are envious of, or that you want other people to be envious of. So perhaps you have an ex that you think may be checking on your social media. So you want to make sure that you are posting things for your ex to kind of get the benefit of seeing as well, which is perhaps not so kind to your current partner. But I think that we have all been there at one time or another. And we have to remember that the trauma that we experience in relationships, they can be obviously very significant, very serious, but also on a more minor level. Every time we are interacting with someone in a relationship, we are allowing them to imprint on us, and we are also taking and imprinting ourselves onto them. So no matter how long a relationship lasts, whether we are just casually dating, whether we are in a serious relationship, whether we're somewhere in between, we want to really make sure that we know how we are taking ownership of ourselves and how we are behaving in a relationship. So when the moon comes up in a relationship reading, it also makes me think a bit about the idea of ghosting, that perhaps there is a part of us that we are not looking to acknowledge, that we are trying to kind of escape from, even within ourselves, some toxic traits in relationships that we don't want to acknowledge. And so perhaps we are being not as kind to someone in a relationship, or if we're dating, maybe we're kind of dipping in and out and we're ghosting people, and we're not necessarily looking to actively upset anyone or hurt anyone, but because we are still dealing with our own stuff, we're not necessarily showing up as the best kind of partner for someone else, because obviously in a relationship, or perhaps you're dating more than one person, whatever floats your boat, you want to be showing up as that best version of yourself, because that is the only way that you will have a productive and fulfilling relationship experience. But we are also pulling Leo as our zodiac card, and that reminds us that actually we are very warm and loving and really generous in relationships. So that could be, interpret that however you want to, but having that fire and that warmth really gives the sensation that in a relationship that you want to be in a relationship, that you are a relationship person, that you are loyal, that you love creating those first connections. You love to meet new people and to be that person in the center. And this could also be perhaps a little bit of what's pulling in the toxicity, that actually you want to be the the center of the relationship. And obviously that's not always possible, that sometimes you have to let the other person feel their feelings as well. And when we are looking at our goddess card, our Nyx card, again, it's feeding into that idea of actually we need to acknowledge our shadow selves. I've just put a light on, just it's getting a bit dark. There we go. That we want to acknowledge our shadow selves, and we want to, if our relationship is going well, we want to be thankful for that and enjoy it, but we don't want to start using that as a reason to make other people feel bad, or even to be too in our own kind of feelings about it. We don't always want to be showing off or preening our relationship, and that may be part of our own toxicity that we need to try and move away from. Because obviously when we're in a relationship, we want to be happy, be fulfilled, but we also want to acknowledge that there is someone else in that relationship with us that may want different things to us. And if we love that person and we want to stay with that person, it's all about finding our balance. But even when we're single, acknowledging those darker sides of ourselves and what we really want in a relationship are so important, because it's very easy to end up in a relationship where things are perhaps a more surface level, which is also kind of the impression that I'm getting from these cards now, that perhaps we're going out there and we're looking, if we're single and we're actively dating, we're looking for something only from the surface downwards. We're not actually looking at what's underneath. What do we actually really want from a relationship? Why do we want to be in a relationship? Is it so that we can say, yes, I've got someone, I'm not alone anymore, I'm doing fine because someone else wants to be with me and wants to be that support system with me, which is obviously not really a reason that we should be getting into a relationship, although a very natural and a very human reason to want to be with someone. But in fact, we really need to do that shadow work first to decide what it is that we're actually looking for, and that maybe at this particular time, it might be a good idea, if we are single, to maybe take a pause and to reflect on how we are approaching dating, and see how we could change maybe elements of our dating practices in order to align with more suited partners. And if we are already in a relationship and we are feeling that deep level of love and happiness and contentment, which this spread does call to me, certainly with the Six of Wands and also with Leo, then that is wonderful and beautiful, and you are in a very blessed situation. But if you are also acknowledging this kind of level in the background, that maybe sometimes you're showing off a bit with your relationship, or you're trying to make other people think that your relationship is perfect, when of course no relationship is perfect, then I would call through the cards for you to perhaps take a moment and think, why am I doing that? And maybe unpick that a little bit to make sure that your relationship with your partner flourishes, both behind closed doors and in front of other people as well, but maybe that we're not kind of using our relationship in order to get that ego stroke, because that's not really very fair on the person that we're with, and it also will lead us into more negative patterns in the future, especially if that relationship then breaks down. So I hope that you've enjoyed this little mini relationship style read, and hopefully I will see you in another pick your card soon. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed this pick a card video today. If you did, please like and subscribe. Please let me know which pile you chose. Let's chat a bit deeper about tarot and relationships and how it can help us to, connect a bit deeper to that side of ourselves. And I will see you in another video soon. Bye.